It's 11:13 on a Thursday morning. We started work today at 7 o'clock. We came in and pre-tripped the truck. Checked in with setup. They gave us 5 container loads going down to the Navy Supply Distribution Center. So basically we're dedicated to the Navy Supply Distribution Center. Of the 5, 3 we had locations, the other 2 were on the ship. So far we've done those 3. We just finished up our 7th movement of the day. Brought back an empty from the Navy Supply Distribution. And I just checked and another container's come off the ship so we can do our 4th full. It's located Bravo 14, stall 25. We're in Bravo 15, stall 24. So it's actually right there in front of us. 275666. So let's drop our empty chassis that our empty was on. And hook up to the next full container going down to the Navy Supply Distribution Center. Navy Supply Distribution Center is the warehouse that the Navy uses to service all their department stores and mini marts and whatever they have throughout the island. So it could be the Navy Exchange, it could be little vending machines or mini mart gas stations. They take care of everything. So it looks like we hooked. We'll get this pre-tripped. See, I'm being dedicated to one of these big box like customers is pretty simple work because you're basically going to do the same thing over and over and over and over and over and over. Eventually, whether you like it or not, you got to get good at it. And it just gets easier and easier and easier. And having been dedicated to Home Depot for 3 years back in the day, I find this work very very simple, very easy. I don't mind it at all. But it does make the day go fast, and it does wear you down a little bit. It's hooked up. Had to have lowered the trailer before it would have hooked. Tires are inflated, pin is locked, lights are on, except for this one. But this one is good. I don't have spare bulbs with me today. I took all my tools home to clean them up and organize them, and haven't brought them back to work with me. But normally I carry spare bulbs, and I could have taken care of that, but we're not going to worry about it. There's no DOT scale open today. The DOT's not around, so I think we're good to go. It's only a 7-mile trip from here down to the Navy supply distribution. But that's all the energy I have. It's so easy to hurt something doing that. It's because it's not in there straight. Makes it way harder. And see, I forgot to put on the fast saddle. So the old truck had fast saddle, but it didn't work. So it's just a matter of developing that habit. I have a feeling if I remember to use the fast saddle, I won't have to reach in as often. So anyway, take this down to the Navy supply distribution, drop the full, pick up an empty, and around we go until we run out of work. So it's 5 minutes to 12. Dropping off our 8th movement of the day, this full 40-foot container on the fence line here at the Navy supply distribution. And the other end of the fence line, we got all the empties. I think there should be like 6 or 7. shut it all down. Pass that off. Lights are off. Air conditioning off. Engine. That was a nice, fast, quick, busy day. So we started at 7. We did 13 container movements. We never got the last one off the ship. But we took 4 containers over there. We brought 7 back. Plus we did a empty in the morning and an LTL just now. Put it on dock 1. Drove 126 miles. Truck ran well. And it's November. So a couple questions I've been having. I guess there's ads on my videos now. When I first started, now this January will make 10 years I've been doing these videos. I think maybe there's 2 years worth up, but I have all 10 years worth at home on my hard drive. I just don't put them all on YouTube. I'll probably take off 2022 pretty soon here, because I just was experimenting with different titles and stuff like that. I knew as soon as I started putting titles to the videos, the channel would grow. And back when I started, if you had 200 subscribers, you could monetize your channel and make a little money. I think I was monetized for about a year, and I made $126 for a year's worth of videos, over 200 videos. So you don't make a lot of money unless you're, you know, popular, because it goes by how many views. But then they changed the rules, and you had to have 1,000 subscribers in order to be monetized. And I guess back in the beginning of October, I hit 1,000 subscribers. And so all of a sudden the channel became monetized again. And now there's more than I had when I first started. So probably making somewhere around $25, $30 a month now. So $300 a year. You know, $300 a year to me is a day's pay. So it's still not a whole lot, but maybe I'll buy a new GoPro camera with it or something. You know? To me, YouTube is a hobby. I'd like to be more involved in it, just for the knowledge, not so much for money. Just to keep the mind sharp when it comes to electronic-y things. But there's like over 40 new subscribers, and kind of an interesting thing that most of the people that view the videos are not subscribers. The majority of the views are not from subscribers. Maybe 20%, 30% are subscribers. And then you have the loyal gang that's been here probably all 10 years. And I kind of know who they are. But, yeah. So, big threshold or accomplishment. I don't know. It's not a real accomplishment because I wasn't really trying for it. It's not a dream of mine to be a YouTuber. But for the 40 that are new subscribers, I've always had kind of a tradition. Well, at least I try to do it every month, but I don't always remember. And that is just to tell my story. And I get that from, I drove tour buses for 10 years. And one of the very first questions people would ask when they get on the tour bus would be, wait a minute, you're not Hawaiian? In other words, who are you? Why are we on your bus? And so I've always felt, you know, if you're going to listen to somebody talk about something, you probably should know a little bit about them, you know, a little bit of their story. And so I was born in Washington State. That's where I was born. But when I was 5, my mom married my stepdad. I was raised by my stepdad. And we all moved to the U.S. Virgin Islands. So we went from Washington State to the other corner of the United States, down by Puerto Rico, the U.S. Virgin Islands. And I grew up on the island of St. Thomas and St. John. I went to school in St. Thomas, but half the time I lived in the Virgin Islands, I lived in St. John, which meant I took a boat to school every day, all through high school. And then got out of high school, I was a captain, and I did a lot of marine type stuff. Worked on tugboats, worked on crew boats, did charter boats, babysat boats during hurricanes, because hurricanes hit the Virgin Islands every year. Worked in a dive shop, worked in a hotel, and a hurricane came along and put the hotel I was working at out of business. And a lot of the work that I did was working for the hotel in these different jobs. So I was always under the umbrella of this hotel that was on a smaller island off of St. Thomas called Water Island. So the Sugarbird Hotel was put out of business by a hurricane, and then a week later another hurricane came through the islands and tore the roof off the place where I was living. So at that point I was 21 years old. It was time to leave the Virgin Islands. But I tell people, if you cut me, I bleed West Indian. That's my upbringing. I was brought up in the West Indies. That's how I see things. I was the only white kid in the class. Everybody in my class was black. And so I grew up a minority. And I tell people, it's kind of like that movie The Jerk. I was raised a poor black child because I went to public school. None of the white kids went to public school, but I did, me and my brother. And so I was raised, pretty, not poor, but we did all right. I mean, my dad worked for the power company and my mom worked for the nursing home. And so I never felt like we were poor. But I realized that all the other white kids went to private schools. And so maybe. I think it was a good education. I think growing up in a basically all-black school during the civil rights movement is a pretty interesting education. Of course, West Indian is completely different education than United States mainland. It's a completely different cultures. But yeah, moved to New York City when I was 21. I loved New York City. It was everything the Virgin Islands wasn't. Big city, 24 hours a day, hustle and bustle. If you could work, you can, and I knew how to work, I knew how to hustle, because that's all you do in the Caribbean. And just for instance, the Caribbean is more expensive than Hawaii. New York City, where I live, is more expensive than Hawaii. Hawaii is the cheapest place I've ever lived in my life. So when people come to say Hawaii and say, wow, things are so expensive, well, I guess it's what you compare it to, because compared to where I've lived, Hawaii is less expensive. It's not cheap though. So yeah, I lived in New York for 7 years. Didn't care much for the weather during the winter, and was looking for a way out. And I had a friend that I went to high school with who ended up here in Hawaii and gave me a call. We were good friends in high school. One of the he had 6 brothers. I had a brother, and combined we had 8 brothers. And so we grew up kind of hanging out together in high school. And when he gave me a call and told me I need to come check out the Hawaii, because it's a lot like the Virgin Islands. It's year-round summer, palm trees, beaches, girls, but it's a huge city. It's 1 million people, just like New York. Well, New York's a lot bigger, but you get that feeling. If you come from a small town or like the Virgin Islands or something, you come to Hawaii, it's a big city. It's 1 million people. And so got to Hawaii. I got off the plane first time in Hawaii, and I knew instantly this is where I wanted to live the rest of my life. And that was just a feeling I got. I said, man, this place is so nice. And I get that feeling every time I travel. I love to travel, and every time I travel and come back to Hawaii, I go, you just take it for granted when you live here. It is so nice. But it comes at a cost. But again, this is the cheapest place I've ever lived. So I didn't think it was that high a cost, even though I can see that it is. But after 7 years in New York, I finally figured out a way to move to Hawaii and began living in Hawaii. The first 10 years I lived here in Hawaii, I drove tour buses. I drove for a company called Trans Hawaiian, no longer around. And drove all their tours, drove all their buses. Yeah, it was a great education. Got to meet all the different cultures. Japanese tours, Chinese tours, Puerto Rican tours, Filipino tours. all these different cultures in Hawaii are a lot like the Caribbean. There's all the different cultures in the Caribbean too, but it's different cultures. It's African and European, where Hawaii, it's all Polynesian and Asian. But the lifestyle is very much like the Caribbean. The cultures are a lot different. But I loved it. Drove tour buses for 10 years. The first Gulf War came along, and the tourist industry took a dive, and the tourist industry will take a dive for any reason. COVID, wars, whatever, you know. And so I went from working 5 days a week to working 2 days a week. And right across the street from the tour bus company was a garbage company called BFI, Browning Ferris Industries. So I walked over there and became a roll-off driver. Drove roll-off for 2 years. And I was just looking for the best pay. And they said, well, if you drive front loader, you make $1 more. And so I went and drove front loader. And they said, well, you know, if you float, in other words, if you do everybody's route, when they're on vacation or out sick, then you can make 75 cents more. And so I became a floater. So I got to know the island really well, at least where the garbage cans are located, because I did everybody's route. So between the tour bus driving for 10 years and garbage trucks for 7 years, at the end of 7 years, my body was hurting all over. And I was just looking for easier work. And a friend of mine was saying, why don't you be a tractor trailer driver? And I said, yeah, that would be cool. Those guys don't have to push cans around all day long. And a friend of mine who was a tour bus driver was on the mainland training drivers for Swift, and he moved back to Hawaii, was working for this company, and he gave me a call and says, why don't you come work for us? I'll get you in, and we'll get you hooked up with a tractor trailer and get your tractor trailer license. So that's what I did. I came and started working with DHX, and after 2.5 years I was still driving the straight trucks. Nobody had bothered to train me or even asked. And I was like, I figured out, if you're going to take that route, which I did, don't expect a freight company to be in the business of making you a tractor trailer driver. That's not their business. Their business is to move freight. You want to become a tractor trailer driver, it's up to you to do whatever it takes. The equipment's here. You just got to get in it and practice and get somebody's permission to do it. And so that's what I did. I'm self-taught when it comes to tractor trailer. I just jumped in the spare trucks or the yard goat, and I'd go around and see how the cans are maybe not a little straight, or maybe there's some spaces between them. I just hook up, straighten out the container, unhook. Hook up, straighten out the container, unhook. I did that over and over and over and over for about an hour every day after work. And pretty soon the warehouse was coming out, hey Max, grab that can and put it on the dock, and take that one off the dock and put it in the yard. And so next thing I know, I'm volunteering my time and working for the warehouse, moving containers around the yard. And after about 3 months of that, my permit expired, and I got mad. So I went down and renewed my permit, and I put in to take the test. And then I came back to DHX and told them, hey, you know, I put in to take the test on this day. I need a trailer and somebody to take me down there. And they got really upset that, you know, they didn't know anything about it. And, but I said, you guys been promising to train me for 2 years and you haven't done it. So that's what we did. Went down there, passed the skills, no problem. I'd been practicing that. Passed the road test, no problem. I've been on the road for years as far as driving trucks and buses. But when it came to the pre-trip, failed miserably. Came back a second week, failed it again. And then I realized, you know, this is something I got to pay attention to and actually study. I understand how things work. I just have to be able to tell somebody else, explain it to them, what I'm looking for and how things work. And so when I changed my mind a little bit and really hunkered down and studied, I aced the test, no problem. So it can be done. My mom got her tractor trailer license when she was 72, and she's never been a truck driver or anything. She just wanted to get it. And so with my help, it took her 5 tries on the written, 5 tries on the driving. But you know, after 10 times, she got her license. So anybody could do this. It just takes a little bit of effort. So the YouTube started 10 years ago. I just wanted to learn technology. I'm not a technological person. I didn't even have a cell phone at the time 10 years ago. And I was just feeling like I was getting left behind. So anyway, that's kind of my story. The idea was to drive for one more year. I'd be 55, and then I'd retire and I'd go travel and I'd make YouTube videos. That was the mindset. Of course, my wife talked me out of that. She's the smarter, more financial savvy one, and I enjoy driving, as you can tell. I don't mind it at all. As long as I can do it, I'll do it. But that's my story. We're headed home. It's Thursday. We're gonna make some fish. We're gonna make some rice. The salad's already made. Rice, fish, salad. Good Thursday meal. That's it for today. Thanks for watching. Aloha.